All right. Just got back from Rise of Skywalker, and I wanted to share my completely unabridged thoughts. I have a lot to talk about, a lot of emotions about this. I'm going to start here. I'm going to give some non-spoiler thoughts. If anyone wants to hear without the spoilers, I'm going to do that briefly, and I'll give you a huge disclaimer on when I am going to get into the spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, pay attention to when you need to jump off the video, come back later. The first thing I'm going to say is, as a fan, I loved this film. I love Star Wars. I don't care what critics think. I don't care what you think. I love Star Wars, period. And so almost everything that Star Wars could ever put out, I'm probably going to love it. In my opinion, Attack of the Clones is probably a pretty freaking bad Star Wars movie. My opinion. But I still love it, and I still watch it, and I still cry when Anakin and Padme kiss. I don't know why. I shouldn't. I shouldn't, but I do. Even though I know it's the dialogue's so bad, I love Star Wars. And so I would encourage you, if you have doubts about this film, if you have, you've seen what the critics have said on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, I would encourage you to go as a fan and not as a critic. That's how I went to this film, and as a result, I loved it. There are a few things that didn't land with me, a few things that I'll get about in the spoiler section, but there are also some other things that I found quite meaningful and quite emotional, and I still have this feeling inside of me of just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just this. I have such an emotional connection to Star Wars, and there were things in this that really played on that so deeply for me that I'm willing to forgive some of the other things that might not have made sense. I definitely feel like I need to give this movie another shot, another try. I'm going to go again because some things didn't make sense. It's a very complicated film in a lot of ways. A lot happens in the short amount of time. We all know that Palpatine's included, right? He's on the posters, in the trailers. I don't think that's a spoiler. And there's part of me that didn't quite buy that. And I'll talk about why. But again, I think I'm able to forgive the lack of setup there because I really like what it all means, if that makes sense. So anyway, if you do not want to hear any spoilers, jump off right now. I would say go to this film. If you are a Star Wars fan, you need to go see this film. All right, so now getting into the spoiler talk. I absolutely, thoroughly, with everything in me, love the Luke training Leia to be a Jedi. That hit me so deep. I loved it so much. The CGI in that scene, by the way, on Luke and Leia's faces was insanely good. I mean, you know that it's not them, right? You know they didn't go back in time and film this scene. It's CGI. But it looked so believable. It almost made me question, like, wait, how did they do that? Like, obviously it's CGI, but it was just so believable. And I absolutely love that. I mean, it was brief, but I loved it. Leia has a lightsaber. I know that that's going to be merched at Galaxy's Edge. I don't care. I'm going to go buy that thing. It was sweet. It looked pretty similar to Luke's in some ways. You can see she got some inspiration from Luke's. But I thought that was really meaningful and very cool how, Rey and Leia had this relationship, right? And that gets expounded on more in the books. And to have her take on the lightsaber of Leia, it made me want to cry. I don't know why. I just thought that's so cool. And this is again where my fandom comes in. Like, does that make sense? Is it earned? I don't know, but I loved it. Speaking of things that I'm not sure if they were earned or not, but I still love, Rey and Kylo at the end. We're going to jump right to the end here. This is going to be a scattered. I'm just going to talk as it comes to me. I didn't even take notes this time. I just wanted to enjoy the film. But at the end, I loved how their arc concluded, even though I think a lot of people aren't going to like it. I know a lot of people didn't want the whole romance thing. Some people probably don't think that what happened was believable. And I sat there and I was thinking, does it make sense that they just kissed? Does it make sense? But in my mind, I was like, yes. I don't know why. I don't know why. It probably is not earned. It probably doesn't make sense, but for some reason, I freaking loved it. And so I'm going to forgive it. You know what? I liked it. I thought it was great, especially the way that it happened. Like the way, and I thought it was, I really liked how they set up this moment where you're like, oh crap, she can't even kill him. She can't even kill Palpatine because that's what he freaking wants her to do. I thought that was really crazy. And a lot of that stuff with Palpatine, by the way, Palpatine in this film, he was freaking creepy. Does anyone else get some really, really creepy vibes from the white eyes Palpatine? I mean, oh my gosh. Now, with Palpatine, part of me just wonders, like, how does he come back and all of this? And I start thinking about the logistics of it, and then I remind myself, this is a film about space wizards. Like, none of this is going to add up completely. And so I'm kind of willing to forgive that, especially because at the end with Kylo Ren, he becomes one with the Force. And at first I was like, what? Oh, what? They finally, no, you what? And then he's gone. And I thought, well, okay, so Leia's gone too. And so it's kind of like this moment of the Force balances itself, right? And so Palpatine was balanced by Skywalker. That was kind of how the Force was working, was it not? And so with Palpatine finally defeated, the Skywalker line then becomes one with the Force. And you saw it was both Leia and Kylo Ren. Now, I'm not a deep enough lore nerd to know if all of the mechanics of that add up and make sense. But to me, that's what came to me. And I thought, all right, it makes sense. You know, it's the end of the Skywalker saga. That's what we were told about Rise of Skywalker. This is the end of the Skywalker saga. And that to me was a moment of, okay, you know, I thought it made sense. It resonated with me, even if all the logistics of it don't quite make sense to me yet. I kind of liked it. So I thought that was really, really good. And speaking of the Skywalker arc ending, I really, in particular, I really like Kylo Ren's arc specifically. He has been one of the most compelling character in Star Wars history, in my opinion. The acting by Adam Driver was amazing. The moment he had with Han Solo, the emotion that he had in that scene, I just felt it. And, you know, there's a part of me that just thought, you know, is he really going to turn to the light side? You know, I thought part of me didn't want him to. But when you actually saw him make that transition, when you saw that in his face, I thought Adam Driver drove that in. Dad joke. And it really resonated with me. And I bought that moment. So I thought that was really good. I really loved, by the way, this is a total random thought, but the little guy that worked on C-3PO, I forget his name right now. That guy was freaking awesome. I thought that the new droid was kind of unnecessary. There are a few things that probably weren't necessary in this. The little droid was one of them. But, I mean, new droids in Star Wars, they kind of go hand in hand. I liked how they worked in what happened with C-3PO. I mean, I was really wondering with the red eyes and what does this mean? And they kind of teased us with that. And then when I saw the setup with the Sith blade and how, you know, he's not, his programming won't allow him, I thought, okay, that makes sense. You know, I didn't really mind that so much. A couple things that didn't land with me though, that I want to cover. Number one, Finn seemingly being able to use the Force suddenly. I'm not sure if that makes sense to me. I mean, we've kind of had allusions to it. Maybe it's just connected to Rey or something. But it seemed a little too, I don't know. We haven't really been thinking of Finn as a Force sensitive person. And so I'm not quite sure that I bought that personally. that was one thing that didn't quite land with me. I also the whole Sith thing with all of these Sith figures around Palpatine. I thought it was really cool, but I also thought, like, what are they? You know, I was having a hard time buying it, if that makes sense, because I don't know, it just felt kind of just a little too cinematic and all of that. Pretty much everything with Palpatine, I'm just like, I'm accepting it, but I also, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how this happened. You know, so anyway, I thought that was really good, really interesting. Still, I liked it as a fan, but also in my mind, I was like, I don't know about that. So anyway, in summary, I really thought this was a great way to end the Skywalker saga. I think there's probably things that a lot of you guys aren't going to like about this film, and I'm sure you'll tell me exactly what they are down in the comments below, and that's totally fine. But me as a fan, I left the theater really happy. It was like I was kind of subdued almost, just like I was really satisfied, actually. Even though I kind of wish it packed a stronger punch. It didn't. I didn't run out of the theater ecstatic, thinking this is the best Star Wars film I've ever seen. But I did leave the theater feeling like it answered the questions I wanted answered. Rey being a Palpatine made sense to me. Part of me wanted her to be a nobody still, which is kind of what Rian Johnson set up. Which, by the way, I do think that there is a lot in this film that kind of just took a crap on The Last Jedi, and I was okay with that, even though you guys know me, I really like The Last Jedi. I'm okay with them taking a new direction with this, even though I think probably one of the biggest weaknesses of this sequel trilogy, by the way, is the films don't flow super well, and that I feel that more than anything now, because today I watched all three of them. I had a little marathon with my siblings. We watched Force Awakens, then Last Jedi, and went straight to the theater to watch Rise of Skywalker. They're very different. They don't flow together like the prequels do or like the original trilogy does. I think that we need that for whatever the next trilogy is. I think we need something that really flows together. Even though I like each film individually by itself, as a trilogy, there are things that flow together very well. Like Kylo Ren's arc, I think, flows very well. But the story itself, in particular, just throwing Palpatine in at last minute, I don't know if that makes sense in this 3-story arc or this 3-film arc. But I still, again, I've said this several times and I'm just kind of rambling. I still liked it because I think it makes sense. Palpatine is the nemesis of the Skywalkers. And so that had to conclude somehow. Even though one might say that it needs to conclude with Episode 6 and bringing it back kind of, discredits what Vader did. And his sacrifice and his turn to the light side, which, by the way, I'm definitely disappointed we didn't see Hayden Christensen in this film. I thought he was going to be worked in somehow. I will say, though, I am just now remembering that how much I wanted him to be in the film. And so that's coming to me now as something that I wish we saw. But in the movie, in the moment, I never once thought, where's Anakin? Where's Anakin? Where's Anakin? So maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. I don't know. I also am 90% sure I heard Ahsoka Tano's voice in it, which I thought was great at the end when all the rebels were checking in. And that moment, really awesome hardcore moment with Palpatine zapping all the ships, I thought was one of the most satisfying bad dude moments in all of Star Wars. That was really great. I thought the lightsaber battles were really good, really fun. I seen some criticisms that the first act of the film is boring. I really didn't think it was. I thought there was a lot of information. I thought it was giving. While this is complex, and I think the complexity of the film is rooted in, if you want to understand all of the reasons for how things are happening, if that makes sense. Like, how is Palpatine doing this, and how did Rey just did the lightning? Which, by the way, when Rey did the lightning, my jaw dropped. Also, Hux being the spy, I don't know. This trilogy could never figure out what to do with Hux. I don't like anything at all with that they did with Hux. I mean, when that happened, it shocked me, but then I was also like, this is stupid. And then he's just shot and he's dead, and it's like, that's pretty much how Disney treated Hux. Just dead. I don't care about you. So anyway, That didn't ruin my enjoyment of the film whatsoever. But anyway, again, rambling at this point. Things are coming to me. I'm definitely going to want to talk more about this in a stream later on. I'm probably going to avoid talking about that for a while. I want to avoid spoilers as much as possible for people who don't want to have them. But I am going to need to see it again and talk a little bit more, give a little bit more structure to my thoughts. But by and large, the film left me feeling very satisfied as a fan. If I looked at the film as a film critic, I could have probably thought about a lot of things. And maybe I think the critics are doing their job right, probably. I think there's some things to critique about this. But the fan in me is very happy. There's a lot of fan service. I left a very happy Star Wars fan tonight. And especially with how the Skywalker arc ended, it just felt very, very emotional to me. I mean, I was with Leia in particular. That whole Leia getting trained, it made me emotional. I thought it was really great. I really liked that. So, all right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today. Let me know what you guys think about the film down in the comments below. I'm going to give Rise of Skywalker a 7.5 out of 10 as a film critic and a 10 out of 10 as a fan because I freaking love Star Wars. Don't at me. All right, guys. Have a great one. And as always, my brothers, don't forget.
Sorry about the mess.